I'm Addison Nichols.
And I'm Seamus Dyke.
And this is
the Kite News Program.
Yeah.
Alright, our three main characters are Hassan, Baba, and Amir, who are the most dynamically driven. Baba is the father of Amir and is a very stern and driven man. He enforces a lot of things on Amir that Amir does not want to do, and sets up a fear of abandonment basically in Amir, and this kind of drives him throughout the entire story as he struggles to overcome this.
As the story goes on, Hassan is shown as a very loyal friend to Amir, and sets like a positive expectation on Amir, and
It kind of just helps him along the way in general, right?
It's like almost like a guardian angel.
Yeah, right. And then Amir, our last character, is kind of more entitled and fearful, our main character, and he struggles to overcome this throughout the entire story, which drives the plot.
The story takes place in Kabul, Afghanistan, where a young boy named Amir was rich and entitled, and his father Baba
Was a stubborn man.
was a stubborn man that set high expectations on Amir. Amir had a best friend named Hassan who was young, poor, and lived in a mud hut.
Right. And we see that social difference between each of them because of their different religions. But when Baba and Amir move to California, we see a complete change as Baba is humbled and struggles in this new culture, but Amir takes place in this new setting. What happens when he goes back to Afghanistan years later on?
Since Amir's left and sets a tone of regret and nostalgia.
Regretful nostalgia as he sees the change in what used to be a beautiful place, and it sets a sadness among the audience. Throughout the story, we have a conflict that's overarching and drives the story along. The first conflict that we see at the beginning of the story is the religious differences between Amir and Hassan. Amir is a Pashtun and Hassan is a Hazara. This causes a bit of a social class difference, and Amir starts to look down on Hassan. But what happens to Hassan because of these differences?
But then Hassan gets raped, and Amir struggles with internal...
Well, Amir, he sees this and he kind of begins to struggle with this because he didn't do anything about it.
But then war in Afghanistan happens.
Right, and Amir and Baba, they have to move to America where they're faced with, just the problems that any immigrant from Afghanistan would face in a new country. They struggle with the new cultures.
But after America, Amir goes back to Afghanistan and saves Sarab.
Right, Sarab being Hassan's son. Alright, now we're going to talk about perspective. Let's start with Amir. Amir is this kind of timid but, self-interested boy. And you're probably wondering, why is that? Well, the way Amir sees the world is this place where nothing he does is ever good enough, and he's always struggling to impress somebody. And this kind of sticks with him throughout the entire story, and, even as an adult, he struggles to find himself and be happy with what he does in the world. And that kind of relates back to his father, who's always very hard on him.
As you said, Baba is a self-driven man that is stubborn and stern, and grew up in a different environment, and thinks every man should be able to stand up for themselves.
Alright. Throughout the story, we see a lot of symbolism kind of revolving around the main idea of redemption. See, in the beginning of the book, Amir watches Hassan get raped and he does nothing about it. And the rest of the book, he's just trying to redeem himself. And he gets this chance when he goes to Afghanistan and saves Hassan, who's now dead, like his son. And instead of making the wrong choice, he makes the right choice. And that reflects on how he's changed as a person.
Amir, as a young kid, flies a kite and makes Hassan always chase after it. But at the end of the book, Sarab flies the kite and Amir chases it, which shows that Amir became a better person, and he went from selfish to self-interested character to more of a selfless role, similar to Hassan.
Throughout the story, the author uses different literary elements to drive the story along. For instance, kind of what we said with symbolism, in the beginning of the story, we see Amir fail to help Hassan when he's in a time of need. It's great. But later in the story, we see a parallel as he saves his son Sarab. They do a lot, how, like we've seen, he likes to do a lot of callbacks, just to kind of like tie the story together.
They use a lot of imagery.
And kind of like develop a theme. And that's all we have to say on that. Alright, if you liked The Kite Runner, then you'll probably like To Kill a Mockingbird, a story that also follows a young child as they struggle through life experiences and grow as a person.
Oh, yes, true. To Kill a Mockingbird, you're able to track the growth of the kids, Gem and Scout, as they are trying to understand the realities of the 1930s in the South. And their father, Atticus, does a great job at parenting on like being inclusive, being respectful to others and such.
And that's all. Thank you for watching the Kite News program. And we'll be back with more some other time.
Well, beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing somewhere beyond the sea. She's there watching.
I'm Addison Nichols,
And I'm Seamus Dyke.
and this is The Kite.